Hi, welcome to the Markdown Language Made Easy series of videos. In this series of videos, I'm going to introduce you to the Markdown language. Don't worry if this is the first time you are hearing about the language or if you have no idea what Markdown is, because I'm going to explain every bit of it to you. And by the end of the series, you should know Markdown just like any language that you currently speak. I am Ehonia Obed and I'm happy to take you through these set of lessons. But before I do, let me give you a background story. The first time I came across Markdown language, or even the first time I heard of it, was when I was doing my software engineering program and we were supposed to write some code and push to GitHub. GitHub is like a place where developers or software engineers store their code so that everybody can have access to it or is also available publicly. And as part of the requirements, when you are pushing your code to GitHub, it is required that you add what we call a README, which is like some form of documentation telling us what the code that you have submitted is about. That was when I heard about Markdown first, because the README files that we create actually are supposed to be written in a language called Markdown. So essentially, Markdown is a markup language. I know, Markdown, markup. It doesn't make so much sense, but then I'm going to explain all of these to you. So don't worry. We needed to mark down or use Markdown to write this README. So I had to start reading around it and figuring it out. But then I didn't get used to it. I was almost always escaping it, just writing my normal test without any sort of formatting and pushing the code. Then eventually I started writing technical articles on a platform known as Hashnode. That was when I began using Markdown a lot. Now Hashnode has changed over the past year. A lot has changed on that platform such that you can now use their interface without doing much of Markdown. But when I started using it, it was a lot of Markdown if you wanted to format your write up. So all the text that you publish there in your post, you have to mark it down. Use the Markdown language if you want. And that is where I came to really learn and understand the Markdown language. And because I have practically been using it for over the past year, I have like that practical sense and how to go about it. And that is why I'm qualified to teach you this series of lessons. So I hope you're ready to learn about Markdown language, as I'm also ready to teach you. When we talk about Markdown, it is a language that is essentially used for formatting text, and that is it. So even if you've not heard of it before, or if this was the first time that you heard about Markdown, just note that it is a language that we use to format text. It means that with the regular text that you're writing, this is a language that you can use to create different formats. So for instance, you want to make some text bold, you want some italic, you want to underline some, you want to cancel some, all of those things. You realize that nowadays most of the applications out there, like the social media platforms, say WhatsApp, or even communication tools, Discord, community tools, and all of that, these types of platforms are kind of coming up with a way to format the text in them. Even on a platform like Facebook, you want heading, you want to bold in something, they are coming up with these features, and most of these are just modeling after the Markdown language. So it is only good for you to know what Markdown language is. And essentially, as I've said, it is a language that we use to format text. And we're going to go deep into every aspect of it and how to go about it. But before we do that, let's look at some of the tools that you can use to create Markdown files. And when I say a Markdown file, what is it? In fact, when you come to any programming language at all, the first thing to distinguish a particular programming language from the other is the file extension of the file. So if I am to create a file right now, the difference between the different type of language that I'm using will be determined by the file type. So if I am to write code in any programming language at all, say Python, you'll see that the ending of that file will be a .py. For JavaScript, it will be .js. So when you come to Markdown, we use .md. So if I say test.md, if I create any file anywhere and I call it test.md, it means that this file is a Markdown file. Where can I create these sort of files? And that is where the tools come in. There are a lot of tools, but I want to restrict myself to only these 3 tools that I've listed here. Reason being that they are very easy to use, and the first 2 are available online, which means any one of us can get access to. And I'll leave the links to these ones in the description so that you can just click on it and go there. And when we go to the subsequent videos, I'm going to show you exactly how all of these things work. So you click on any of these and you are able to use it. Now for VS Code is a text editor, which you can equally use any other text editor, but VS Code is my personal favorite. And let me show you an example of Markdown in VS Code. So this is an example of Markdown, and as you can see, I've been able to just, all of this is just text, but then I've been able to add some form of formatting. You can see there is a table here, there is some code snippet here, and there is some codes here, there is some lines in here, and all of this is exactly what we're going to learn how to create using the Markdown language. And this is the actual thing that I've written. So this is the language, like what I am talking about, and we're going to learn how to come up with them. But exactly, you end up getting this, and as you can see, this is a .md file showing that it is a Markdown file. So I hope you are ready to delve into it, and I'll see you in the next video.